A frustrating day to be a Bruin. Dante Moore couldn't be held upright, and when he did, the one costly mistake ends up costing UCLA the game. UCLA loses to Utah 14-7 in what could have been a very winnable game for the Bruins. Instead, turns into what could have been for UCLA. Let's react to it on Locked On UCLA.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to this edition of Locked On UCLA, reacting to the UCLA loss 14-7 at Utah. The Utes improved to 4-0. The Bruins take their first loss of the season, fall to 3-1, 0-1 in Pac-12 play. A game where Cam Rising didn't play. I debated all week. Maybe he might play. How much would this actually affect things? In the end, Cam Rising not playing didn't affect the outcome because Utah still won anyway. Most importantly, because the first play from scrimmage for UCLA's offense turned into a pick six. The Utes have that crazy 20-season streak of having interceptions returned for touchdowns, and now they've got one in back-to-back weeks, this one leading directly to a Utes win. The Bruins had multiple opportunities. You can think about the pass from Dante Moore early in the first quarter, I believe, where he hits Jase Norwood in the hands, wide open, heading towards the end zone, dropped UCLA deep in Utah territory in the second half, driving, couldn't do anything, more fumbles, although that would have brought up fourth down. UCLA might have gone for it then. The pick six to start the game. In the end, the overall spectrum of the game, you can look at it from a couple of things. The Bruins couldn't simply run the ball. Is that an indictment on TJ Harden? Carson Steele? No, I think that's more because the O-line got exposed today for UCLA. The Utah defense was so physical and dominant, unlike a year ago in 2022, where the Bruins ran right down Utah's throats for a win. This time, the defense asserted their physicality in this game. They came in and punched the Bruins in the mouth. Dante Moore, arguably with Shedeur Sanders, you sit here wondering, hey, who got chased around a little more? Colorado's quarterback or UCLA's quarterback? I'm not entirely sure who was specifically that got chased around more in that Colorado-Utah game or Dante Moore in the UCLA-Utah game, right? So the Colorado-Oregon game, whatever Bryce said. It doesn't matter. Utah's defense had 7 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, 4 passes defended, 2 scores. And UCLA still had a chance when they looked lifeless the entire game offensively for the most part, had a chance with the ball in the fourth quarter with their freshman quarterback about 3 minutes to go in front of a raucous Rice-Eccles stadium, and it went sack, miniature gain, sack. That's not giving Dante Moore any chances to do anything. I know he was 15 of 35. There were a couple of opportunities where he may have missed a wide-open man down the field, but you've got to keep your freshman quarterback upright. UCLA, if I've got these numbers correctly, if you add in all the negative rushing stats from Dante Moore, only netted 9 yards rushing. If you take away the negative rushing yards, between Carson Steele and TJ Harden, they combined for 60 rushing yards, which is well below their season average. The biggest story is the fact that the offensive line could not hold up. Dante Moore looked like a true freshman on the road in front of a home fan base that said, Rising's not back. We want to make it loud. And they got excited every time their defense got on the field. While there were a couple of throws Dante made, some plays he made in this game that were just outstanding. A couple of them, an early drive that set up the near touchdown to Norwood. I believe he hit Ryan through some traffic, was weaving in and out of traffic. It was the fourth down in the fourth quarter where he threw another bomb to Ryan just to keep the play alive. We can see flashes from Dante Moore. We can also see why maybe Chip was a little scared to put him out there and sent Garbers out there as the safety option to start the season in 23 as the starting quarterback. But you have to keep Moore upright. And that was the biggest story when it was like, all right, you have a chance. Maybe Moore can have some exciting freshman moments. He was not given an opportunity, a chance to throw the football down the field. His running attack couldn't do anything. In a day where the UCLA defense probably was arguably, I guess I'm rambling now, made me the proudest I've ever been of a UCLA defense. That's deep, right? There have been some great UCLA defenses, some iconic moments by UCLA defense. Unfortunately, in a loss, this isn't going to rank up there. And against a backup, maybe third, fourth string quarterback that Nate Johnson was when he started the season, when Rising was maybe ready to go before the season, ended up not being the case so far through the first 4 weeks. I'm still incredibly impressed by the defense because before they even put their foot on the field, they're down a touchdown. You have to prevent any Utah scores. Any field goal opportunities is detrimental for your chance to win, and they still showed up outside of 1 2-minute drill at the end of the first half. They came together, 4 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, 3 passes defended. They were able to get a strip of Nate Johnson, keeping them in the game early. Johnson had 3 fumbles, and the Bruins only recovered 1 of them. So there's some key plays where the momentum, the actual trajectory of the final score could have swung one way or the other. That doesn't take away from Utah's dominance. JT and I talked about it in the crossover, the Locked On Utahs, about how Utah might dominate the line of scrimmage, and if UCLA can get some big plays, maybe that would happen. This game did not get dictated by big plays for UCLA's offense. It was more UCLA's defense had to score. That was the way the Bruins could have won this game, where Johnson dropped the ball on the goal line only to recover it, dropped it another time when he got strip sacked and Utah recovered it, where the Bruins might have been able to recover it, scoop and score. It is one of the most proud defensive moments I have had for a UCLA defense in a long time. It doesn't matter who was starting on the other side. Any points they could have given up was going to be so detrimental to the cause. Kane Medrano had arguably the game of his life, 10 tackles. He had 2 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, but Wausau with the sack, 6 tackles. The Bruins, between those two, they were spectacular. Even Latu getting a tackle for loss. The Bruins, for the most part, made their plays, gave up some big plays, which I didn't think they should have against Johnson in the play-action game. Unfortunately, they couldn't hold Utah to a field goal at the end of the first half when they gave up a 3rd and 5, ended up being a touchdown to Landon King. Just a lot of what could have been a frustrating reminder of this isn't last year's UCLA team, most importantly because the offensive line, which lost some key guys in terms of the going to the NFL, they did not replenish that this year when faced with an opportunity to play a physical Utah team on the road. Dante Moore, I don't want to say he's not ready, but still, the most important thing is the passing attack, the rushing attack, none of that together really came to anything. And when the defense had to make some plays, they made plays to keep Utah out of field goal position. In the end, it was not enough for UCLA to win this game. The frustration of it kind of goes over and over and over again if you're a UCLA fan because, hey, this could have been a game you win on the road against a freshman quarterback on the other side, and yet the defense played their hearts out. The whole team played their hearts out, playing in a game where the Bruins pitched a shutout the whole second half. For the majority of the game, UCLA was in it. They just could not move the ball offensively. Moore was 15 for 35 throwing the football, the key pick 6, and just sad frustrations where the Bruins missed the touchdown pass to Norwood. Loya was wide open in the end zone, I believe, in the third quarter, and the Bruins couldn't hit Loya in the end zone with Moore having a shot there. So quite a few missed opportunities when they had their shots. And when you're playing a team like Utah was playing defensively, they got their couple of cracks at it, and in the end, they missed those. And you have to be able to hit those passes. Norwood dropping one, and then with Loya wide open in the end zone, you've got to be able to hit those guys in stride in the end zone. Whether it's a drop, maybe it's a missed catch, a missed route, whatever it is, you have those miniature moments. Utah gave the Bruins a couple of opportunities to win this game. Maybe it was a bad bounce with the ball bouncing back to Johnson or to an O-lineman or in his hands at the goal line. The other one could have been, hey, you had those opportunities twice deep in Utah territory and came away with 0 points twice. I know they probably would have gone for a touchdown in certain situations, but you can't come away with 0 points with a defense that was so dominant today that gave Dante no time to throw. That's what makes me so frustrated today. We'll look at one more key or the keys, and we'll see why UCLA lost. What are the biggest things? The keys to victory for UCLA, if you're looking on YouTube, you can see the graphic. The key was run the ball. If you run the ball more than you throw it, UCLA is almost unbeatable. And I said they need a minimum of 150 yards to probably win this game. UCLA, nowhere near that number. They threw it more than they ran it, and Utah made the Bruins pay. Turnover-free football was key number 2. Obviously, 2 Dante Moore turnovers, 1 turning into a Utah score, their defense turning in the offense, and then win the line of scrimmage. I kind of meant that more necessarily for the defense, but also I talked about how the O-line was getting their first test of the season. Almost all 3 of those statistics, the Bruins actually lost. They didn't run the football. They didn't play turnover-free football and lost the turnover battle, which you just can't do at Utah on the road against an arguable top 10 team by the time the weekend's done. And then winning the line of scrimmage, the Bruins simply did not do that in this game more than an acceptable amount of the time for Dante Moore to even have a chance to make a decent amount of throws. I know there are times he made his mistakes, had interesting reads, but clearly Moore was rattled from the lack of time, lack of ability to have time in the pocket to scramble and throw the football. It was just a saddening effort because the Bruins could have won this game, but that does not take away from Utah's dominance defensively and their grit and tenacity to win this game without still 7-8 starters. Ridiculous. Still, they go back to the drawing board to the Bruins. A lot of big games coming up. You got Washington State, who I don't know what they're going to look like in 2 weeks from now. They'll have a bye just like UCLA, and maybe the Bruins will recover, or this is the ceiling. They don't have the O-line. Their defense is much improved, and yet they still have a young quarterback that's got to learn and grow and develop, which is what this 23 season can be. The Bruins still have a chance to compete, but obviously with this performance, to win a Pac-12 title, that is, you have to be perfect the rest of the way. But this can be a good learning season to what D'Anton Lynn can bring to the table as the defensive coordinator. What can the Bruins do offensively with a young quarterback? And can UCLA regenerate a good rushing attack like in previous years under Chip Kelly? All questions to look at going forward in UCLA's 14-7 loss at Utah. Again, it's a tough place to play. Sold-out crowd, Pac-12 opener. Would have liked to get one in this one, yet UCLA does not win it. I'm Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer telling you, all right, let's wrap things up here on Locked On UCLA. This episode wrap-up, the reaction is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you bet a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. You can bet on spreads, player props, over, unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. All right, Bruins fans, we will give more grades, reaction, and detail on the next Locked On UCLA episode. If you're an everydayer, we'll talk about what went wrong. I think it's pretty clear they got out-muscled, and we'll go over the keys and give grades to all the position groups. If you're getting your hands up, still got to get your hands up. I know we're frustrated. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA. UCLA. This has been Locked On UCLA. Go Bruins.